Hello, and I'm the Otaku Doctor. And today, we're going to be talking about Seinen. Now, Seinen is sort of an adult version of shonen. It's gory, it's bloody, it's really just, it's pretty much like an R-rated manga, if you can think about it. It just has all that gore and blood that a lot of people like to read because they're either mad or depressed or whatever the reason. And one example, that most common example in anime, is the visual novel Basilisk. Basilisk is pretty much the Romeo and Juliet of anime and manga, not Romeo and Juliet manga, but it's the it's like thinking about Romeo and Juliet, two planets fighting for each other. There's a peace treaty that expires, and they just get killed off in the most bloody possible way. Watch it; it's actually really good. 25 episodes. Used to be on Netflix. Don't think it's on there anymore. Though it is on. They do sell the entire thing at FYE. Check it. And today we are here in a local comic book store. The link will be down below. And because we're here, they don't actually sell manga, so we're going to go with the American Seinen that is actually going to be releasing a movie shortly. And who are we talking about? We are talking about Deadpool. Seriously, this guy is badass. Best way I can describe American comics in the form of Seinen would be this one right here. This one is breaks the fourth walls, wisecrack, destroys everything, kills everybody, blood everywhere. And let's see if we can find any bloody kind of. Well, hey, look. There's also, this is something that's more common in Seinen. Blood right there, panty shot, bondage. It's pretty much straightforward. Let's see what else we have. Probably don't have it. No. Okay. And you trade I can't find any one of his bloodier moments. Yeah, I cannot find any of his bloody moments when he's really fighting, like really badass fighting. But thinking about Seinen, it's 18 years or older. It's not something you would with your kids or your younger siblings watching, because it can scar them for life or give them bad ideas. It's really just, you wouldn't really take your kids to see an R-rated movie, and if you do, educate them on that, not to do the stuff you see. And that's the thing about Seinen. It's not really, it's really something you want to watch, but you want to make sure you don't really like imitate it. It's really hardcore kind of stuff. Like there's one manga called Dogs, really graphic, really bloody, guns blazing. It's really something like that. And characters die. Main characters, side characters, they die. And finally, news. We have, as I mentioned in a previous episode about the last Naruto movie that is coming out, is literally called Naruto Shippuden The Last. And that will be released December 6th, which coincides with the 15th anniversary and also the ending of the manga. The anime is still going to go on for who knows how long, but the manga is ending somewhere between October and December 6th is when the movie comes out. And that's Naruto The Last. More stuff will be noted about that as time goes on. And finally, we remember Young Justice on Cartoon Network, how it was ruthlessly canceled. Now, there was a Twitter shot, and that Twitter had Young capitalized and in quotes. Fans and even media is saying that even straight out say Young Justice coming back, but for now it's basically a rumor due to the quotations in the why. And as I said earlier about Deadpool, and this is why I brought him up today, Deadpool is going to theater release, and the trailer was released yesterday or today, and his movie is coming out sometime in 2015. As there was a list, I did look over, and I did not see it on that list. So it is going to be sometime in 2015. And next week, you will see our adventures at Otaku. I'm the Otaku Doctor, and I'll see you at Otaku.
Hello, this is Media Underground, and this is Yukihiro Kei. Back again. This time, the segment is really being changed, like the direction of the segment. So instead of mashing up video games, fashion, and music, we're gonna do some of it each episode. So this episode is going to be about video games. I have not talked about video games in like forever, maybe until episode 3 or 2, mainly 2, and the rest of the episodes were just like fun facts about video games, just quick fun facts. To refresh everybody's mind, video games started a long time ago. It has a long history, but it mainly started in the 1940s through 1958 with artificial intelligence to help the military and all government agencies and stuff like that. The stuff that astronauts go through, technically artificial intelligence, all that training, helped with video games. So most of it was for government, and then it transferred into the college campuses of many professors wanting to make the first game or technically help aid to help their students pass different tests and help their memories more. The first technical game, I can't even say like game of today, but the first artificial intelligent game was based on Russia's champion chess star from the 1968, I believe. Alexander. His first name was Alexander. But from all that, they came out with a chess game, which most of us play computerized chess. Today's computerized chess is the main thing of that processor. Then we go into Tennis for Two. Yes, Tennis for Two started off as like another sports game, but it also helps memory and all that, so you can remember stuff. Tennis for Two technically goes into another game, which is Pong. So that's where Pong got its start, from Tennis for Two. But before Pong, it was Tennis for Two. Tennis for Two traveled across many U.S. college campuses by many professors and so on. Okay, now we will go into Space War. Space War is technically credited as the first wide known available computer game. Flat out. First well-known computer game. This actually started in 1960 with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, as a couple of college students and professors got together and created a club called Hackers. And the members of the club was called Hacks. So every night, or within those nights, they started writing down code on paper tape. So many codes were hacked from many artificial intelligence technology, but the one main person that they had to help that knew artificial intelligence, his name was Steve Russell. So they have him on his team, or their team, by 1961 through 1962. They finally created this game dubbed and called Space Wars. Space Wars predecessors, I think all y'all will, most of y'all will know this game. It's basically Space Invaders. Space Invaders is the predecessor of Space War. So, technically, we all have played Space War. After that, many other influential games based on it have come out, but the one that we all know, like I said, is Space Invaders. Many games of today can resemble Space Invaders. Let's see. What's another game that can be called Space War? Many shooters can be called Space War, because Space War was the first person shooter of computers. So any shooting game, from Halo to Gears of War, is based on Space War. So after Space War became a commercial success in 1970, enters 1971, where a guy named Bushnell helpfully made video gaming come to the commercial mass with the game Computer Space. Yes, Computer Space, Space Wars, Computer Space. Yes, very similar names. It still is a help aid for many commercial college kids to help them with their memory and stuff like that. But after Computer Space comes Galaxy game. Galaxy, yes, I know all about space, but yes, that was the 1960s into the 1970s, where America and all the world was really, really crazy about space and the space age and the space race, trying to get to the moon. So yes, all these games in the beginning are going to be named after the universe. Until those two games came out, that was the first fully commercialized games. So we have three main games that makes everybody, especially the nerds, sorry, but yes, three main games that started everything in the commercial home. So we'll go over the games again. Space War, Computer Space, Galaxy game. First two games before that, which technically inspired sports games or sitting down sports, is this chess aid game that we have, that we could always go online and play chess. But the game that inspired Pong is Tennis for Two. Tennis for Two is technically the same thing as Pong. The ball's here, this is your block, boom, 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 simple, just hit it, if you miss, you lose. Simple game, simple concept for back in the 1960s and 70s. Basic concept game. Many of the concept games or storyline games didn't come out until after 1976, which is the golden age, which we'll be getting into just about in maybe a couple seconds. But for y'all to have a whole reminder, video games weren't just randomly created. It was thought of ever since the first computer came out, which was in the 1920s through 1940s. The first computer technically was nearly, see the size of the statue? We'll put technically 5 of these statues going that way to the trash can over there. That's how long it was. And the size was just about the size of this whole area that we're in. The whole circle area is like an oval, so yeah, it's a huge oval. So that's how big the first computer is, or was. It's in national museums. I think it was in Philadelphia, because that's where it was created, Philadelphia, surprisingly. But they moved it, I think, to Washington, D.C. Yeah, I believe they tried to move it, or moved it to Washington, D.C. Not sure at the moment anymore. But yeah, so with all that about computers, then video games came in as help aids to help their students, and so on. So technically, people cannot say video games are bad for you. It is a help aid. It still is to this day. Many games are help aids. You just have to find the right games. Okay. Everybody thinks that Atari is the first video game console. Oh my god. Atari isn't the first video game console. I'm sorry to break all your hearts, but Atari is not the first video game console. The first video game console is called the Magnavox Odyssey. I know most of y'all haven't heard of the Magnavox Odyssey. Yes, it sounds Russian. I know. Russian and Greek inspired. But that was the first video game console that came out. Came out around 1971 by Richard Baer. No, not Richard Baer. What's his first? Ralph Baer. There you go. Ralph Baer. He's the first one, him and his team were the first ones to home-alize, if that's the word, home-alize the video game console. So the Magnavox Odyssey was the first video game console. The first video game that came out was Pong, which I said was based on Tennis for Two, which it is based on Tennis for Two, but more inspired by table tennis Pong. Technically the same thing, if people say, yeah, it's the same damn thing. But then Atari came out, and Pong was for Atari. So Atari is the second video game console and the first generation of consoles. Many people don't know this. I bet if you meet the best video game connoisseur and you ask them, they'll have to look it up themselves, as well as me. So, going on, the companies that came out between the 1970s were Sega Enterprises. Yes, Sega is old. Sega is really, really old. Activision and EA. Yes, this is the games. Those were the 3 first companies. For those who don't know. So yes, Sega is older than Nintendo. Nintendo didn't come out until the 80s. With that being said, since those were the only 3 companies, the only main games were Pong, until they came out with a Star Trek game. Yes, Star Trek was very popular back in the 70s, so they came out with a Star Trek game, and for us people who like role-playing games, they turned Dungeons and Dragons into the first role-playing video game. That was the first role-playing video game, or MMRPOG. I know I got one of the letters mixed up. I know I did. So, thanks, Mr. Otaku Doctor. MMORPG. See, I told you I did get one of the letters mixed up. I'm really, really bad with acronyms, depending on the acronyms. But, yeah, that was the first role-playing game. For all you role players out there and LARPers. As we move on from the first generation consoles, we will move on to the second generation consoles, and then into the golden age. Yes, we did move location because it is getting dark. It's like 8. So to finish off where I left off, we left off with the Magna Odyssey, which was created by Ralph Baer. Ralph Baer took the intellectual design of computer space creator Nolan Bushnell and incorporated it into his system. The kicker is this. After that, Nolan Bushnell, with the help of his partners, in 1972, came out with the founding company for Pong, Atari. Funny, right? How two people just take each other's designs and stuff. But anyway, that's how the world works around us. So after that, Atari was created. So Pong came out, all these other games like Gunfight, that was technically the major shooter back then. First person shooter, fully first person shooter on a console that started main things. After that, after Atari was created, an Activision was created. After an Activision, when an Activision came out, they came out with Space Invaders. After an Activision, it was Coolavision? Yeah, I believe Coolavision? Coolavision was the main company that came out with Donkey Kong. That's where Donkey Kong came from. Then it was Activision. Now, Activision came out with so many games that I can't even think of right now. From Paperboy to all, like, Gauntlet and everything else. So, now we have just about 5 major companies, I believe. Sega didn't come out with nothing major yet. Sega, Atari. Yes, Atari is a game station, but it's also a company that created its own games. And Activision, Coolavision, and Television. No, it's technically 6. And what was the last one? Well, last 2. Which is EA and Midway. They all came out processually after one another. After that, we're going into the golden age of video games. Oh, well, yes, I was dancing a little bit. But anyway, then we entered the golden age, which happens to be entering into the second gen consoles. Yes, the second gen consoles weren't that much, as you know, as Atari, mainly Atari, as the second gen consoles, and then Nintendo enter its playing field. Mainframe computers technology actually helped the second generation of consoles to come out more. Why? Because instead of using ROM and whatever came before the floppy disk, they didn't have to use that anymore. They can use cartridges. Yes, cartridges that you blow in every time if something gets messed up. Cartridges. That would be the helping boost into the golden age of video games that progressed everything, like Pac-Man and all of that. and helped the arcade games too, because many arcade games could go into the cartridges and they could just, what is it, bigger frame cartridges, and they could just put it in the game cabinet without any problem. Instead of, if the ROM would get scratched, they will have to repair it so really quickly, or slowly technically. Instead of, with cartridges, you could just repair it like that, better and faster. During the golden age, it produced video games. It produced so much revenue for the United States and North America and everything else. It was nearly, back then, 2 billion wasn't 2 million wasn't that much back. Well, was a lot back then, but now it's not. It's like, okay, whatever, 2 million, whatever. But yeah, back then 2 million was a lot. So it grossed over $2 million thanks to the replicas from Pac-Man. Pac-Man had replicas, Frogger had replicas, Star Trek had replicas, and many more game clones that came out have replicas of them, which sold pretty well, but not as well as the originals. The golden age of video games was from 1976 to 1980. Yes, that short time span. Just about short time span for so many video games to come out and like into the world and just change a lot of stuff. That was the whole beginning. Most people didn't like video games in the beginning because, as you know, it ruined kids' minds and stuff like that after the beneficial aids came out, because games like Pac-Man will have their children in their arcade all day long and not coming home. So many parents technically didn't like it. Until they came out the home console that you could just actually sit down and just sit and be there. Home consoles kinda slowly ruined arcades, the arcade business, because not many customers would come into the arcades anymore, because since you have a home console, you have the replica of the game with you at your home console and the little cartridge that you could play for free after you bought the console, which wasn't like $100, just about $100. Consoles cost about $100 back then, until they started boosting them up. But yeah, home consoles kind of ruined the arcade, just like as the Buggle song, the video killed the radio star. So in a way it slightly killed it, but it also helped it in a way, because many arcades would have newer games that consoles didn't have, home consoles didn't have first. So it killed it, but it also helped revolutionize the home consoles. So many of the arcade game makers will start making things for the home console. Hello. Well, since after I explained everything and I'm breathing, we'll get back to news and music and fashion quickly later. But if you want to know what I'm wearing this nice pink blazer with blue jeans, and boots. Yes, there are boots. Yes, I'm wearing boots in the summer, but they're very comfortable and they are airing out everything, so it's not really heavy, they're actually really light. Everything I would be having, every picture of my clothing and article of clothing on my personal Tumblr, which will be underneath the links below the video. So everything that I wore by far, it will be in my personal blog or Tumblr. High Velocity has a personal blog as well, You can follow that. Follow High Velocity on every social networking site that you can think of. Instagram, yes, it has an Instagram. Yes, we have a Twitter. Yes, we have a Facebook. We have multiple Facebook pages with all our artists on there. Let's see, what else? No, we don't have a MySpace. MySpace kind of sucks. But anyway, this is Yukihiro Kei, and this is with Media Underground.